Thanks for joining us, America. We are glad you're with us. David is in San Antonio. Hi, David. How are you?
Doing good. Appreciate you offering the advice for us.
Certainly, sir. How can we help?
I've got to start taking money out of the IRA, and I needed to find out what I've got to take a percentage out. And,
Are you 70 and a half?
Yeah, I got old.
Better than the alternative.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you have the mandatory distribution rules. Okay.
Yes, and the rest of it, what percentage should be bonds, what should be stocks, and they have so many funds that I just have to go by what's, percent-wise.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not a fan of bonds especially in this current environment, because as interest rates go up, the value of bonds go down, and we are at unusually low interest rates.
Right.
And so as the mortgage rates, as you hear mortgage rates go from 4 to 5, you're going to see the value of your bond go down dramatically. And so I don't want to put you into something that I think is going to go down over the next 10 years. I mean, I don't think we're going to be at 3% interest rates or 4% interest rates for 10 years. I really don't. I mean, it's nice, but I don't think it's going to happen. So I'm not a fan of that, and I don't do single stocks. You probably know that from listening to me. So I'm going to be in mutual funds, and I kind of think that's what you're talking about, are mutual funds, correct?
Actually, it's in a annuity.
It's in an annuity, okay. But there are mutual funds within the annuity that you can choose, correct?
Yeah, there's about 100 of them, yes.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to be in probably 4 types of mutual funds: growth and income, international, and I'm probably going to put some in some balanced funds, although normally your balanced funds are going to have some bonds in them. A lot of the balanced funds have moved away from bonds right now because they see the same thing I see, that prevailing interest rates are unusually low. So balanced is the calmest, growth and income is the next calmest, growth is the next calmest, and then international obviously is stocks and companies that are overseas. If you're spread across those 4, that's an unusual portfolio according to financial planning people, some of them. But here's what I see. Unless you're ill, you probably are going to live another 20 or 25 years. The average death age of a male is 76, a female is 78, but that includes infant mortality, teenage death, and so on. When you make it to 70 years old in pretty decent condition, it's not unusual at all to live into your 90s. So you got 20 years, you got to outpace inflation. And if we think about what gasoline or a loaf of bread cost 20 years ago, I want you to be making some money during that 20 years.
Yeah.
And so that's how I would have that annuity allocated if I were 70 years old. And by the way, I'm 53, and that is how my retirement is allocated, except I don't have a balanced. I have a more aggressive. I have the aggressive growth stock mutual fund instead of the balanced fund.
Right. Okay. I know it's, I'm still working, but that's, I keep trying to retire, and they won't let me.
What do you do?
Plumbing.
Oh, cool. How much is in your annuities and your 401ks and your nest egg?
Wells Fargo says about 1.8.
Excellent. And how long have you been a plumber?
Since 1968.
Good for you. Let me ask you something, just to teach some of the people that are 28 that are listening to you and me talk right now. What was your average income since 1968, do you think?
Well, it's 72 now.
Okay.
And it's...
Is that the most? What's the most you ever made?
I did work overseas for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
I did a whole lot better.
Yeah. But other than that, when you were stateside, your normal income was in the 70s?
Yeah. Of course, back would have got married in 65. In fact, enough groceries to last for a month was $25.
Yeah, exactly. And so how did you come about the $1.8 million? Have you saved every month your whole life?
Well, Earl Nightingale and Napoleon Hill taught me well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. But, I mean, mathematically, did you invest every month?
I did Most of the time, yes.
Okay.
And just a steady supply of investment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so if you were going to sit down and advise a 28-year-old or a 26-year-old that was just getting married, starting their careers, you're a walking example of, as a plumber making $70,000-$80,000 a year. A couple times you made more than that working overseas. You were able to amass $1.8 million in mutual funds.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So when everybody says that, oh, you can't make money and, you don't need to be investing and the market's crazy and all that, you just kept going the whole time.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. And here you sit worth $2 million. You got grandkids?
3, yes.
You teaching them how to do what you did?
I'm trying.
Good. Good. You're a good man. Absolutely amazing. Thank you for letting me interview you for a second, because you're what's known as the millionaire next door. Isn't that wonderful, America? That's the land you live in. And when you sit around and tell me that the economy is structurally flawed, I will point to you and say, there's a plumber named David in San Antonio that's worth almost $2 million. He's worth over $2 million. We didn't ask about his house. That was just his mutual funds. And when you tell me that you shouldn't invest the way Dave Ramsey teaches, because Dave Ramsey doesn't know what he's talking about, Dave Ramsey's an idiot, investing in good mutual funds and projecting that the market is going to cause you to win. Oh, but what about the lost decade? And what about the downturns? And what about this? And what about that? And let's just wring our hands and do nothing and hope that Barack Obama will save us. It's not going to work for you. Not going to work for you. Because, see, David, the working man can't get ahead. I think David will tell you he's a working man. I'm a working man, too, by the way. I don't turn a wrench, but I work my butt off. So I think David is a working man that got ahead. You know who Earl Nightingale, by the way, is? He's the guy who did The Strangest Secret that we talked about one day, not long ago here on the air. The strangest secret is you become what you think about. And if you don't set goals, you will always lose. So men like David very quietly become worth $2 million while living in the house next door to somebody who spends everything they make, like they're in the government or something. That guy right there is a living, breathing example of who you need to think about being. He gets up and goes to work. He goes to work really when he doesn't feel like going to work some days. You can count on David. I don't know David. I never met him, but I'll just tell you that's a guy you can count on. He wouldn't be where he is if you couldn't. He's worthy of trust, trustworthy, faithful. And and yet you have some punks camping out on Wall Street, and you're punks, saying that David is evil because he's built wealth. And did you know wealth is not distributed equally? Did you know that there's a wealth distribution that's not fair? It's so bad. These poor little people don't have any money because they haven't worked and saved like David did. And you have no right to take his money. That's his money. And anyone who tries to take his money in the name of a government should be fired from their job. You should keep your hands off of David's money. It's his. You have no right to it. Your whining, sniveling, little wussified self has no right to that. That is his grandchildren's money. And your estate tax should not touch it. It doesn't currently, but it has in the past. And there's all these people out there running around talking about that wealth needs to be redistributed. No, it doesn't. Because some of you didn't work as hard as David has worked, and you weren't as diligent in saving as David, and so you have no right to his money. So for you to redistribute his wealth is called theft, you freak. Just don't get me started, can you tell? I love guys like that. He's my hero. That's what makes this country great. We need more Davids and less of you wusses. This is the Dave Ramsey Show.